doing that, I was face to face with it. It was holding me by my throat, and it felt like it was sucking something out of me.
I probably should have been more scared than I was when I witnessed the exorcism.
I turned and looked on my right side. When I did, there's a beam on the side of the tree, a large beam. It's looking at me, and I'm looking at it.
After I hit the lock button and looked back up, I saw red eyes staring back at me.
That they're going to show multiple gods all over the earth, be able to speak in people's languages, and at that point, it kind of converge into this one entity, which will be revealed as extraterrestrial. You'll realize that aliens are the gods of old, and at that point, it'll wipe religion out of the context of humanity.
No way, they couldn't have been a person, I know that. I know that people can't run through the woods like that.
So this thing comes into view, and I see it. It's 50 yards away from me. It's walking on two legs. It's huge. This is a big, hairy-looking being.
Welcome. I'm your host, and this is uNcomfortable. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Eric Szilagyi. If you've had an uncomfortable experience and you'd like to have it featured on the show, please get a hold of me at contact.uncomfortable@gmail.com. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, both at Uncomfortable Podcast 65. Most importantly, please share the show with others and make sure that you leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you can. Those are the main ways you can help in getting the show out in front of other people. And with that, the more people listening means more great guests coming forward, like tonight's guest. As I've said in previous episodes, I've got some big announcements and some big ideas for 2023. We've already launched the Uncomfortable Discord server. You can find the link in the show notes. It's been a lot of fun so far. I encourage all of you to get involved. I'd love to see you there. Also in the show notes, you will find the link to the official Uncomfortable merch. We've got t-shirts, long and short sleeves, women's t-shirts and tank tops. You can get the logo on the front, the back, or both if you like. We've got a really cool quarter zip pullover, 2 types of baseball hats, and a knit beanie. These items will only be available until March 5th. So if you want to get yourself some uncomfortable sportswear, please make sure you head over there and get your orders in before March 5th. Tonight's guest reached out to me and at some point felt compelled to tell her story. As of the recording of this episode, this is actually the anniversary date of a very dramatic and serious health issue that took place 3 years ago. She thinks and seems to be pretty sure that it is related to an experience that she had while doing a paranormal investigation. I am super interested to get into this because the health scare that she had seems to be just the beginning. It's actually the end as we know it up until now, but there were a number of things that led to it that she's going to be covering tonight. So let's get into it. If you would, please give a warm, uncomfortable welcome to Jay. Jay, welcome to Uncomfortable.
Hey, thank you, Eric, for having me on here and
Great to have you.
getting my story out there for everyone else.
It is a There's a lot of components to it. And from the short time that you and I have been conversing about it, I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit difficult to follow. In that we've only been talking about this a very short time. You've done a very good job of kind of giving me some cues, and we'll be going off of that tonight. But I guess if you would, let's start off and let everybody know what this medical event that occurred actually was.
Definitely have to start there. So January 19th of 2020, my son had to call 911 in a McDonald's parking lot of all places, to ask for medical attention because I later found out I was having a stroke. What's kind of ironic about it is the night before, I had just finished an overnight paranormal investigation. My first one ever, might be my last one that I ever do just because of how dramatic it was. So since then, it's kind of put me on this trajectory of spiritual awakening, if you will, and really reflecting back on who I am, on who I want to become, really diving into my gifts as a person, in a really messed up way. I feel like looking back, that was almost the best thing that ever happened to me, in a sense. At the time, no, it was not fun. There was a lot of work that I had to do, post-stroke. But I do have gratitude in that I don't think I would be where I am today and who I am today if that hadn't happened. So there's like a lot of, conflicting emotions that I have surrounding that whole event that happened, but it's pretty noteworthy.
Well, let me just say, I mean, I'm looking at you right now. You're a very lovely woman. It does not appear that you are showing any of the typical signs of what you would expect somebody to have a stroke, like a droopiness in the face or anything like that. So I guess the one thing that I want to state is, not to get too personal, but your age is not typical for the event of a stroke. I mean, you're a relatively young lady, and in your mid 30s at the time that this happened, right?
Early 30s at the time this happened, and you're right, it's not common. It literally complexed every single doctor. And I mean, once I arrived at the hospital, I had, medical students like from out of town coming to study me, in a sense of, wow, this is not a normal case. This doesn't happen. It's unheard of. What's going on?
So by you saying that, I have to assume then that your medical history there were no prior ailments or any kind of issues earlier in your life that would have pointed to eventually having a stroke or being the cause of it, if they were that perplexed by it.
So Medically, yes. On a patient's chart, looking at it, health history, there were no indications to explain why this would happen at 31 years old, 32. No underlying conditions to trigger it, nothing.
So, where do we go from here? Where do we transgress?
I would definitely say is okay, so night before this happened, I ended up in hospital. And then thereafter rehabilitation for weeks and weeks and weeks. I had the, courage and all that. I finally came around to joining my family member who started going on paranormal investigations, overnight ghost hunts, etc. I said, yeah, why not? Sure. I'm into that. I love researching it. Never been. And so I signed myself up. And we went to the Haunted Hill House Manor in Mineral Wells, Texas. So I'm in Dallas. And I invited a girlfriend of mine to join me just for comfort's sake. There were 6 of us total that went. And leading up to that, first time, I just had naturally anxiety leading up to it.
Sure.
It's like, oh my God, this over looming dreading date. I know it's going to happen. Don't know what to expect. For some reason, though, I think it's worth mentioning. In very close to the days up to it, it was like this download that I got. You need to start repeating these mantras. You need to protect yourself, your vicinity, and your being, in a sense. And I'm not religious. I'm not. So that was very unlike my nature. And I don't do that normally. And all of a sudden I got the urge of, you need to meditate and envision yourself being this white light and this protected area going into the space. And I go, okay, sure, why not? I'll go with it. So I did that, and I wore all white clothing going in there. That might be superstitious, but for whatever reason, I had this, something was telling me, you need to do this in preparation. So I didn't fight it. On the way there in the car to the Haunted Hill House, I told everyone involved, don't say my name. Do not say my son's name, my sister's family, friends, anyone.
During the
Call
course
me
of
something else.
During the course of the investigation.
Yes, because I wanted, just being my first one, I wanted to go in objectively, logically. I was skeptical. It's like, come on. I mean, there's so many haunted houses out there that people make money and profit off of, that they have rigged, right? Like, I've watched the videos in which they debunk haunted houses.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone agreed with that. And settling into this place, the owner's husband and wife did their whole spiel. They walked us around. gave us a tour, showed us where equipment was at, etc. And they actually live on site behind the property on an RV, and they monitor you all night just in case something crazy happens. So I go, just in my objective mind, okay, yeah, sure. These people are listening to the feed, the audio feed in this place all night long. And then tomorrow morning, they're going to provide us evidence
Sure.
that has been manipulated based upon the things that they heard and saw from us.
So you were interested in doing this, but you were entering into it with a very skeptical.
Oh yeah, 100%. And so immediately we go into one of the master bedrooms on the bottom floor, and my friend I brought got scratched, physically scratched. I didn't believe it at the time, called her out. We go back to home base, which is the kitchen. And sure enough, she pulls up her sweater and there's a physical red mark scratch. So the owner's wife then says, I'm telling you guys, this place is legitimate, and anyone that wants blessed with holy water right now, you should do it. So we all get blessed. Okay, sure. I'm thinking, why not? Can't hurt. Continue on with the tour of the house, getting the background history of why it's haunted, who lived here, etc. And we go upstairs to what is called Adam's room. And Adam is the name of this boy that lived there, resided there. I don't know how long ago, right? Very long time ago. And it's an active place. The owner has a voice box out and goes, hey, can you tell us how many people are in the room? I feel like a showmanship, right? It's like, hey, here's new people, show them, blah, blah. And sure enough, the box goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I look at my friend. Okay, cool. It got the amount of people in the room right. However, back in my mind, the wife wasn't in the room. The husband giving the tour. So I kind of, thought of it as, okay, she's back in the trailer at the back of the property, looking on camera, and she just did this, And then not long after naming off how many people were in that room, we hear it was either my name, my son's name, the one with the son, the mom. And I tried not to physically react. And I just looked over at my friend standing next to me, and she leaned in and goes, oh my God, that's you. It's talking about you. It just said your name. And I go, shh, be quiet. Like, stop. I don't want them to hear. Like, I'm still skeptical. And we continue on through the house, do the tour, etc. Throughout the progression of the overnight investigation, and that whatever spirit Adam that they called was very drawn to me, and that I kept getting responses of it wanting to connect with me. It somehow knew I was a mom. I was the only one there in the group that is a mom that has a child. That was hard to wrap my head around. Another thing kind of really odd was my friend that accompanied me, I feel like got possessed during that night.
Really?
Yeah.
What makes you think that? What were they doing that makes you think that they were possessed?
So the longer that we were there in that house, the less she became herself, to the point in which she was unrecognizable to me.
In personality?
Personality wise, nature wise, in the way that she, interacted, responses, just, interactions, just overall, the whole thing. And it got so concerning that my family member, my uncle that booked this overnight, and he has his own kind of like hobby side gig, paranormal investigation he does. He's a ordained pastor. He said something to me, and he goes, kind of pulled me aside, and he goes, "Hey, this is my first time meeting your friend, so I have no baseline. I'm just telling you, she seems really off." And I go, I didn't want to bring it up. It's awkward, but yes, I'm right there with you on the same page. This isn't like her. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to explain it, but you're right. She got really, I don't want to say aggressive. She got really physically invasive with people's personal boundaries that she just met too, right? This was everyone's first time meeting each other, minus myself and my family, of course. And so it finally hit a point in which my uncle, the ordained minister, separated myself, my friend, and him to one of the downstairs bedrooms and locked us in there, in the sense of like, okay, we need to fix this. We need to isolate whatever's happening, figure it out, fix it. And she was having hallucinations, I guess. I don't know. She was seeing things in the room and just not being herself. It surpassed eventually, and that my uncle started saying prayers. He started blessing the room. Sun comes up and...
Let me stop you. How was she behaving as your uncle was praying over her? What was her posture? How was she behaving during that?
Okay. So once my uncle and I isolated the three of us in this downstairs master bedroom, because I no longer recognize who she was. I've known her a long time. She wasn't being herself, and the manner that she interacts with people, her usual rhetoric, verbiage, etc. It was just, I don't even know who you are. She kept seeing things in the room. She stated apparitions, stuff going on. That was what led up to the point in which my uncle stepped in and said, okay, I think I need to intervene. Let's do this. Okay. let's say some prayers, and during in which she became more combative or aggressive. I hate using aggressive because it wasn't so much physical, right? It was just more verbally resistant and obstinate and challenging what we were seeing and saying. And at some point, she was calming down and almost asleep. And I don't know what that was. Like, I would assume it was so physically draining on her. That is an explanation as to why she like just stopped and laid there, and she literally almost fell asleep. After that had happened and she calmed down and everything was fine, we felt whatever was in that room had passed and cleared. We then left and then reunited with everyone else back at home base. That pretty much was the climax, if you will, of the whole overnight investigation, aside from this Adam spirit that constantly connected with me throughout, you know.
And you indicated that Adam was a young boy, right?
Yes, according to the owners of this haunted Hill House manor.
And you had a young son as well.
Yes, he was 12 at the time.
And how old was Adam? Do you know?
8, I want to say like 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
And according to the history that I was given, this whole house was what do they call it? The during the Prohibition, and it's like the little women in feathery, flauncy outfits, and I don't want to say whorehouse. That's what I'm trying to dance around that.
A whorehouse.
Yeah, I just don't want to say it.
A house of ill repute.
There we go. That works. So apparently in Mineral Wells, there's like this, as so many places, is this underground tunnel connection that led up into this place in which this man owned and, you know, kept this livelihood going of this
house of ill repute.
House. And the son of one of the women that worked there was kept in this room, Adam's room, and also locked in the attic closet during all these things that were going on that he could hear and see outside of it. And
was there something wrong with the boy? I mean, was he being hidden because of a disablement?
He was mutilated, I guess, or disformed is a better way to put it. He was physically disformed, elephant man, if you will. But regardless, right? Nobody wants to own that type of business and have kids
right
out in the open, you know. It's not really appealing. But yeah, it was, so there was that connection. All of us ended up sleeping in home base after my uncle said prayers over my friend, and we went back to home base. I want to say it was 4:30 in the morning, close to 5, sun's coming up, and owners come back. Hey guys, you know, time to kick you out. How'd it go? And I'm exhausted. We go back to our respective cars. My son stayed the weekend with his Nana Papa, And so I left that place, got my car, drove to Nana Papa's, picked up my son. On the way home to where we live, I promised him McDonald's. It's like, okay, we got to get McDonald's fries and a Diet Coke on the way home.
That is a dog barking in the background, not some weird noises coming through. So,
God, I'm so sorry. God, do I need to start over?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So, okay, hush. And that is the one that my puppy, they're worse enemies. Like, they hate each other.
Oh, you got the bully living next door, huh?
I guess. Yeah.
Don't worry about
it. I pick up my son. Granted, I pulled an all-nighter. Didn't really have sleep. And leave. And I drive the same way for so many years from Nana Papa's to my house.
Mm-hmm.
Could do it with my eyes closed probably. And all of a sudden, and I knew I had to stop at McDonald's, all of a sudden I start to feel really weird. And I had the radio on and my son was talking. He was in the passenger seat up front. All of a sudden I had a hard time understanding words. And I couldn't explain or understand what was happening. And I just said, okay, like I couldn't read the exit signs, etc. So I pull over to McDonald's. Like I said, the plan, I say, hey, Colt, go hit the playground and I will order the food. I'm going to run to the bathroom. And I go in the bathroom. I stand there only because I needed quiet. I needed to be able to ground myself again. I look in the mirror. I didn't look myself. And it was this spiral I could feel internally of just this, oh my God, this impending doom. I go back out, find my son in the playground, and I say, hey, I left my phone in the car. I don't know what's going on, but I need you to go with me, help me walk to the car, open my phone, and call 911. God bless him. Okay, this 9-year-old child being asked to do such an adult traumatic thing was so calm and walked me out to the car. By the time I sat in the driver's seat, hand him my phone, my throat started closing up, my esophagus. I wasn't seeing, my vision was gone, my speech was impaired. For anyone that's familiar with stroke and how it impacts someone, it was the height of it. I hear, but I am still aware enough that I can hear my son on the phone with 911, and they're asking him, it's on speaker, they're asking him, can you please ask your mom who the president is, what date it is, like all the, typical things to ask. I could not. And my son starts breaking down. People outside in the parking lot notice. They kind of come over, and there's a gentleman that was kind enough to help my son and kind of take the phone and take over directives. And I was ambulanced to the hospital, and they ran every kind of test under the earth on me. It was inexplicable. It was like such a perplexing thing that this 31-year-old was being wheeled into the ER with stroke code.
Mm-hmm.
She's unresponsive. Like, she cannot speak. She's having a hard time swallowing. And she has no medical history explaining why this should be happening. I was not left. No one abandoned me, but I was laid up in the hospital for 5 days at where I was. Doctors trying to figure out what had happened, why, until I was finally transferred over to a long-term care facility for rehabilitation. I had tremors. I couldn't speak. I had a speech impediment. I couldn't eat. I couldn't walk. Everything. Like, I literally had to learn how to tie my shoes, learn how to brush my teeth again, learn how to write. And I remember being in the car before 911 got there to McDonald's. I hastily called my uncle and I said, "Oh my God, this is happening. Is this because of what we just did?" And he said, Janet, like, I don't know what to say, but you need to hang up, focus on you, and I'm going to say prayers. And I guess that was the in a nutshell, that was the, height climax of what happened in my experience. I don't feel like I want to bore people with my whole progress of the long term. It was a road. It was a journey. I thank God my job was so understanding. Everyone was so nice that I was able to keep my job and still support my son and myself. And I didn't get home, though, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And when I got home, I had a shower chair. Things were modified. I had a walker with tennis balls on the bottom of it, like a 70-year-old person.
Yeah.
I can't help but not correlate the two. But in hindsight, because of what happened later on, it did lead me to like a forced doctor appointment journey of figuring out, the inexplicable, to where I was able to be diagnosed with MS, with fibromyalgia. So I have mixed feelings about it. If I had never had this huge thing happen to me, I could have just gone on undiagnosed.
Right.
So
Let me ask you, during your time in the house, during the investigation, the whole thing with your friend sounds creepy, sounds not positive. But as far as your experience there, were you ever hit with an overwhelming sense that something might be acting on you? or is this just all, and I don't want to use the word coincidental, because I don't think that it's a coincidence. I mean, if in your mind you feel that there is a very logical and present association between the two events, was there anything that you felt negative from that experience?
I did gather, and the other people there, my family and my friend I invited, they even verbally expressed, okay, Gina, you seem like the target tonight. Like all of the messages coming across through the voice box, through all the equipment we had, it kept coming back to so much me.
And I get that. But, I'm looking at this obviously from an outsider standpoint, but, the fact that you were the only person there with a young child, with a young son, and it made reference to the one with the son. I'm almost wondering if the interactions that you were getting that were pointed at you were from an 8 to 9 to 10-year-old child who passed and who still haunts that location, and found comfort in the fact that you were the most like what he remembers as far as being a child and having a mother. So maybe that was his association with you and why he was gravitating towards you. I can be completely off, but to me that would make sense. I guess what I'm looking from you is, was there a moment during that investigation or during the entire process of being there for that night where you were like, shit, I should not have done this. Something has gone dramatically wrong. I should not have done this. This is not, I shouldn't be here.
So there was never a big targeted moment, physical attack or a communicated from the spirits moment that felt negative, other than I was the one that got the most responses when asked. I felt the most emotionally drained and got physically sick, nauseous. And throughout the night, we definitely kind of set two teams up and separated where it's, okay, hey, you three go here in this room and do the upstairs, and we're going to do this section, right? And it kind of became evident the longer we were there that when I was present in that moment, more happened. So I don't know. I don't know how to take that. I will say what happened a little bit 1 year after the anniversary of this was really striking to me. And those were the audio files that I sent over to you.
Yeah. Boy, I don't even know what to make of those. I'm going to pull them up here and we'll play them. Now, she forwarded a photograph as well of a Post-it note or a sticky note. And she received 3 voicemails. And with each one of the voicemails, the number that it came from is completely different. She had the presence of mind to, at each number, when she tried to call that number back, she wrote down the recorded message that followed. The first number after the first message, the message was, cannot be completed as dialed. The second one, with a completely different phone number, the message was unassigned. And then the third one, which was another completely different number, all 3 having very different area codes. That one, the message was, cannot be completed as dialed. And I am going to play each one of these voicemails for you in succession here. And I think you're going to find that they're very common. So here's the first one. I'll play that again. The second one. I'll play that again. And then the third one. All very similar. If not exactly the same, very, very similar. That's a creepy sound. It does sound like there is some kind of a verbal component to it. But I have to say, from my experience, that sounds very much like what some people refer to as an electronic voice phenomenon, an EVP, on a recorder that happens when you are at times investigating a haunted location. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So.
And what was the progression of getting these voicemails? Were all 3 in the same day? Were they days apart, weeks apart?
Oh, man. Okay. This is juicy. So on February of 2021, okay, I see my uncle and he's posting, of course, it's his side hobby, going on these overnight investigations. He posts something on Facebook saying that he wants to revisit Haunted Hill House, the place in which my first one was. I go back and forth, internal conflict with myself of, oh my God, okay, is this a sign? Should I go? Should I face my fear, if you will? Should I revisit head on and address whatever happened or not? So for weeks and weeks and weeks, I contemplated. And finally I decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to go. I need to face my fear. I need to just meet this where it hit me. This was like so significant and traumatic for me. I've overcome it. It's been a year, etc. So I message him on February 24th of 2021 at 9:57 p.m. And I say, let's pull the trigger. Thumbs up. He messaged the owners and said, send in the reservation request. I'll let you know. And I had already expressed to him that I didn't want him to let the owners know that I was coming, right? I don't want this to be a known fact that it's the same people, because I myself am still trying to be really objective, really logical, and still put up such a hard guard filter of if something is paranormal, so real beyond explanation, I'm going to make it the hardest possible for you to be real and legitimate. So next day that's where the sticky note comes in. Very next day that I tell my uncle, pull the trigger on the reservation of the anniversary overnight. 10:25 a.m., I get my first voicemail that you played.
Yeah.
I work from home and everyone gets spam calls, random numbers. I disregarded. Second call at 4:27 p.m., same day. Disregarded. Let it go to voicemail. I'm working. Third one that came through at 5:13 p.m. and left a voicemail. At that point, something in me goes, okay, you cannot just disregard this. You cannot ignore this. You have to do something, right? So then I go back and I play in sequential order every voicemail, the 3 in total that I had gotten throughout that day. All of them were the exact same that you played. So spread out throughout my day. And I don't know how to explain. I mean, it's mind-boggling still to me. It was like less than 12 hours after I told my uncle, hey, yes, I'm committed. Let's pull the trigger on going back there. So
let me ask, I don't want to
go ahead.
Hold on to the thought, but did you ever pay any attention to the beginning 3 numbers of each one of those numbers? 325 area code, 512 area code, and 903 area code.
I did.
Were they, because so many times now, these businesses that do robocalls and auto calls and stuff like that, they can mimic area codes that are local to your area, or at least somewhere near you where it might look like, oh, I probably should answer this. Are any of those area codes near you? Did you ever look up to find out where they are actually?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My investigative ass, oh, yeah. I mean, 512, that's Austin. 903, that's Lubbock, Amarillo. Okay. I can't recall off the top of my head what 325 is, but yeah. So once I received the third call in voicemail, I go, okay, so I need to pay attention to this for a reason. I'm going to jot down. That's why I put all the information on my sticky note. That I immediately started Googling area codes. I immediately started calling back those numbers because I do understand it. Everyone gets spam called, right? We all get those unknown numbers, those spam call numbers, and block them. And that's why I had dismissed it so much until the third call. And I finally listened to the voicemails and like, oh, holy shit, these are all three the same voicemails at 10:25 a.m., 4:27 p.m., 5:13 p.m. And I sent that. I immediately actually messaged my uncle, and I just said, hey, so curious, do you have any kind of decryption, audio software, or something? And all the paranormal stuff you do as a hobby. Do you have something? Because I have shit to send you. And I go, been getting 2-second, 5-second voicemails that sound like the same pitch and background. I don't know what to make of it. He thought it was spam. Same. I go, it's not. I don't know how to explain it. It's just not. It's not spam. I disregarded initially because I thought it was just a pocket dial. They're all three the same. So I ended up posting this cry out call, if you will, on Facebook of all my friends of, hey, does anyone out there in the paranormal realm have software? If I send you something, can you please plug it in and be able to like decipher and break down this whole thing? Got someone. Thank goodness. So I sent it to him. Next day, he sends me back his response of what he deciphered. And prior to I listened to them, I knew myself what I heard. I had my own message that I received from it. I didn't share that with anyone, not a soul. Because again, I'm trying to be skeptical, trying to really make it hard for spirit world to legitimize themselves. He puts it through his software. He returns it back to me. I send all three audio files to him, the voicemails. He scrubs each three individually and then combines each. And in the combining of each individual
waveform
audio file, they overlapped. They were the same. Of course, it's personal opinion, if you will, of what he interpreted the audio file. That I don't know one out there right now that kind of dictates and says what it is, what it hears. But when he sent it back to me and said, hey, I did this, this is what I gathered, it matched head on the nail what I heard, which was, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I immediately, chills over my body when he got that back to me, because...
Did he ever provide you with a cleaned up version of...
Yeah. It was,
Can you send that to me?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So collectively between the three, it was 20 something seconds. The same message, but it was, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I don't know if you want to replay that now, but that's what I heard. That's what he gathered.
Actually, if you can send me the file that he cleaned it up, I can play these again, and then I can play that one.
Absolutely. So, yep, doing that right now. So in that moment, I'll just kind of give more detail while I'm doing this, is it was so profound to me is that literally less than 12 hours after I had said, I'm going to go back to the place in which this all started, that I get those voicemails, that I get that message. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It was, maybe maybe you've had experiences with guests in which, that's light bulb moment and you're, oh yeah, no, that sounds similar. Like this stuff happens. I don't know. To me, that was just a one-off. It's so insane to me. It blows my mind.
I can't say that I've had anything that is identical or even remotely close to what you're explaining. It's very strange, and it is such a coincidence that it would happen on the day that your uncle put in the reservations to go back to the same place. It is strange, very strange. I'm going to go ahead and play the voicemail in its original form, and then I'm going to play the enhanced version by the person that ran it through their software. So here we go again with the original version. One more time. And now, this is an actual video of the spectrograph. Now, going back to what you said, and I've experienced this on a personal level, doing investigations, and I have seen it happen watching other ghost investigative shows where, I get the production value of putting the words on the screen that the production company thinks that they are hearing. And, then when you see those words and you hear, a lot of times it makes sense. It fits, the syllables might be the same, but you're not allowing your own mind to facilitate what you think you heard when you're watching it on TV and you have those words pop up in front of you. You, for your case, having already made up your mind what you thought it was saying, and then to have him come back and basically confirm the same, I would have to listen to this in a little bit better environment than what I'm listening to it now. But the syllables, the cadence of what's being heard, I see what you're saying. I see, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, because it has that cadence to it. I'll be interested to play that on a much better sound system than what I have in my ears right now when we're done with this.
And of course, I mean, anyone that listens to this podcast, and please, like, get the audio file yourself and run it through whatever you have. I'd be open-minded to your feedback. But again, my takeaway was, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And it was significant in that I the same. I don't believe in coincidence. I don't. Everything happens for a reason. And so 12 hours prior that I said, okay, I'm going to go back to this haunted house and meet my fears and what happened to me that was so traumatizing. And I received that. I really struggled with how to process that message. I never went back. Okay.
So you did not go back?
No, I never went back. No, my uncle ended up doing just a solo overnight there.
Did he ever talk about it? Was it an eventful?
That is such a good question. I didn't think to ask it, but I will. I'll get back to you on that. But I just took that as a sign of, oh my God.
Did you know that yearly Medicaid renewals will start again soon? This means millions of people who were enrolled in Medicaid during the pandemic may no longer be eligible for coverage. If this may impact you, the good news is you have options. Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield can help answer your questions so you can find an affordable health plan for you and your family. We want you to feel confident you're covered. Click to learn more. Policy exclusions and limitations apply. Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield is the trade name of Community Insurance Company.
Okay. What happened to me, the aftermath of my overnight there, whatever spirit energy is there, is remorseful. And for whatever reason, they know what happened to me. They know that I had a stroke, that I was hospitalized and in physical therapy, et cetera. And they're apologizing. And knowing that I'm coming back. It's like, how do you... It blows my mind. It is still... Going back there is still on my kind of back burner of consideration.
Is it because you want to face your fears? Or
I think now because of what happened really sent my exploration into this whole realm, into hyperdrive. I think like now it is not fear-based. It's more, I need to know, fact-based.
Are you wanting to confront whatever spirits are there and find out why they did that to you? If they did that to you?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. It's like, absolutely. I mean, so did you psycho dial me and leave me voicemails throughout my workday, apologizing because you intentionally caused that harm on my body for one, a higher purpose, or two, you didn't know the defamation it would cause, you know? Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, I'm going to ask you this, and if it's too personal, please don't be offended by it and tell me you just don't want to answer it. But, you know, from what I've seen of you in the video, you don't look like you're suffering from the effects of a stroke anymore. Do you walk fine? Do you have control of your tremors? You said, I mean, are there any lasting effects of, are they detrimental lasting effects?
That is such a good question. Because yes, since then I am now on medication because I have uncontrollable vertigo spells, or I have limbs in my body that go numb, and I don't sleep well because my joints and my bones hurt, and I'm really weak. A lot of things that, yes, because of that, I now have a routine kind of neurologist yearly checkup, and I'm on medication to kind of manage my muscle pain, my bone pain, my vertigo, all those things. I don't know. It hasn't been easy.
Yeah, I'm sure not. I guess the reason I asked that was, you know, if your answer was going to be that there were no detrimental, long-lasting effects of it, then possibly what happened there was intended to draw attention to you finding out about the MS and the fibromyalgia, you know, in a way that, you know, yeah, this happened, but it was a good thing because now you know this and you can treat it and you can work towards a resolution to it. But if you're having detrimental effects from the stroke itself, then that theory doesn't make any sense at all. So
are you saying it's the opposite then? That it was there's this malignant intention?
I wasn't trying to bring that. No. I just thought that, you know, the possibility of, hey, we're good, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm the spirit now. I'm going to do this to you to make this happen so that you have to go to the doctor and go through a rigorous amount of testing. And then they will find that you have MS and you have fibromyalgia. But, you know, I suppose now that you bring it up, you know, is that a possibility? I guess maybe it is, that it was a nefarious thing. You know, the whole association with Adam and you having a son that is roughly in the same age bracket at the time that he was, you know, was he a jealous spirit? Was he enamored with you because you were a mom, and did he want to effectively go home with you? I mean, did you possibly look like his mom, remind him of his earthly mother? Was he offended to know that you had another child that, you know, he was jealous of? I mean, you could go on and on for a day with the different rabbit holes there. You indicated in some form of communication to me, we had so many, you indicated that there were some things earlier on in your life that gave you the indication that you have some insight to, or maybe gifts would be a better answer, or are those things that you would want to get into?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because so I don't know if,
I mean, I think looking at the various things that have happened to you in the past leading up to this event, they seem to be in the same realm, and they seem that I think it can paint a picture that you are more easily affected by and have a clearer recognition of spirit in work, in activity, you know, that because you've had interaction with it before. Not necessarily, I'm not saying that it's the same spirit, but I think what you've told me makes me believe that you are much more open to the interactions, and maybe that is a precursor to why you were, in your words, kind of singled out, or when you were doing the investigation.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm trying really hard.
You hit it spot on, dude. You hit it spot on, because I disclosed that to everyone that was involved in the overnight of, okay, because some of these people didn't know this about me, right? This was such a vulnerable moment for me, and a shared experience, and that I had to tell these people because I felt like it was needed to be shared. And that I told my uncle, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just telling you, I have had so many things happen in my life, and I, for whatever reason, feel this necessary cleansing preparation, thing to happen leading up to this. I don't know what to do with it, but it's there and you should be aware of it. And sorry for whatever happened. Yeah, I've been so avoidant to whatever veil ties that I have. But this was definitely okay, now it's affecting, now there's other people involved. Okay. Because actually, you know what? You're kind of leading me, because you do so good at this. You're leading me to this really good epiphany point. Is I have had self-experiences in my life, but I feel like this was definitely the one in which was so shared The first time it was so shared publicly and broad and with all the people and, paid for this experience. And it kind of opened up this whole rabbit hole that I self-reflected on when I got all those voicemails, and I ended up not going on that second, overnight, because I got those voicemails. I told my uncle after that I had someone else run it through their software, and I said, I'm so sorry. I will still pay you my half of this deposit. I cannot go again. Like, after I had gotten those 3 voicemails and this thing, call me cowardly, whatever, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. And that was where, like, he ended up going back and doing the solo investigation. And you did bring up a good point. I'll have to ask him about it, is if his solo investigation, the activity differentiated, from my involvement. Because that poses a really good question.
Yeah,
but in all of this, I still have people asking me, like, are you still going to go on, go back and to that same place? Are you still going to go back there? And I honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it's negative or positive for me.
My gut, for whatever it's worth, I would not tempt fate.
Yeah.
I would not tempt fate. That's purely and simply because if it were me, I would have nothing to do with that place again. If I earnestly, truly felt in my heart of hearts that my experience there led to that medical event, even though there's a silver lining to it, and had you not had that happen, they would not have found out about your other medical issues. I mean, that's a good takeaway at the end of the day. That's the silver lining in the whole thing, I guess. But I don't think I would tempt fate myself. I know that I would walk away from the idea of doing it again.
Yeah.
I don't know how a surfer, there was a girl, I don't know if she was from Hawaii or Australia, young blonde-haired girl, probably around 10 years ago, who got attacked by a shark while she was surfboarding. And she was a very good surfboarder. I mean, she was, crazy good. And then when it was all over and done with, she back out there. I forget. I think she. I think she lost her arm, up to the shoulder, and then she's back surfing again in the same waters that, I'd been like, nope, I'll get a skateboard. I'll surf on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's me though. If you did go back, I mean, I would say that you've got balls the size of King Kong, to go face that again. I'm curious if your relationship with your friend that was there, who had the change of personality and all that, what is your relationship with that person now? And like immediately after, I would think that would have put a strain on a friendship.
It has. That's a very good point. It put a strain on like everyone that was there that night, you know. I mean, my uncle, his son, his daughter's partner, me, and my friend. So I do put myself in their shoes, and then I can't imagine going, like, having me tag along and then knowing what happened the day after. That is so traumatic, not just for me, but for them. Yes, it did put a strain in that awkward discussion. I mean, there were definitely check-ins, and it's, do you need anything? Are you okay? You know, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like it put me back on the line of people to call if they ever want to do another investigation. I mean, who wants to ever invite the girl that like had this happen to her? You know, it's no, that's horrible. So aside from hobbies and paranormal, love everyone to death. Still good terms with them. But they definitely were hesitant, especially after the voicemails of inviting me on anything else, you know?
Yeah. So looking back on it now, all of it behind you, the your therapy done, you're functioning well. When you look back at that experience of that night, do you have a feeling in your gut that you were dealing with something that was ambiguous and you just happened to be affected by it? Do you feel that it was something negative that was acting specifically towards you? Do you feel that there was something negative in the place and you just happened to be open enough to be the one that took the brunt of it? Do you think that by you going into that room with your uncle while he prayed over your friend, that whatever was oppressing your friend at the time may have been the cause of your ordeal? Did something jump from her to you?
I initially thought that it was very much, my takeaway was negative, and that, oh my God, there's this evil spirit that had it out for me and targeted me and caused all this chaos physically, etc. afterwards. And I kind of maintained that thought about it and that mentality of my experience up until I received those voicemails. So once I got those voicemails, and to me, again, everyone else may hear something different. To me, and what my friend deciphered and his like software scrub was, sorry, I'm so sorry. So it wasn't until I had gotten those voicemails that it changed my perception on what happened. to, okay, wait, is this, oh my God, this spirit, whoever this is that's coming through to me is remorseful. They're sorry. Like, I don't know how to explain that they know what has happened to me in the past year after this. But they're apologizing. And so
let me play the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Or
what, to reel me back in?
Or, yeah. I'm sorry.
Are you serious?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. It was an accident. Please come back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please come see me again.
I love that you're playing devil's advocate. I do the same. I haven't considered that. I haven't.
Would this, if it was a negative energy, if it was nefarious in its intent, would this have been the first time that you've experienced something like that?
Of course. Heck no. Heck no. And I guess maybe that is why I felt the intent and energy so much with what I received in the audio messages, is that it wasn't nefarious and it wasn't malignant, because I have had experience with something that was, and I immediately, it wasn't even, when I heard it, when I finally listened to the voicemails, it wasn't even, okay, I need to replay this over and over and over again to really pick up on what was being said. I just immediately knew. And goosebumps, chills all over my body when I heard it, because it was just like, it was such an understood message at that moment. And I don't know.
When you listen to it now, is it still just as clear as it was to you before? Or
100%.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because for me, again, like I said, I hear the cadence and it matches what you're saying. But again, until I listen to it in a much better suited environment than what I have right here, I'm not getting that. I'm not getting anything. I can't recognize what it's saying. And quite honestly, that's no knock on the audio at all. I have problems when I'm watching Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters, you know. I'm just like, you know, there's some Class A EVPs that I was like, hell gosh, yeah, you get 100%. But there's some that it's like, man, how are you getting that?
Come on now.
Yeah, so, but it's interesting to me that it's just as clear as, I mean, now as it was before. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm very interested. You know, hopefully the playing it through the recording system I have, I'm sure it'll be audible to the listeners. I'd be very interested if anybody listening to this, what your take is on it, and I'm sure Jay would really appreciate to get your take as well.
100%. And 2, do you think I should go back? I mean, I still have people asking, So it's, 2 years from I received those voicemails, and it's still kind of a running joke, if you will, or question out there is unfinished business. And are you going to go? I don't know. Maybe.
I'm going to say this with all due respect. Again, my gut would tell me no, don't do it. But if you do it, that didn't sound right, but I guess it is. You've already started to take steps with someone that is known well to the show. As far as being able to enhance your ability to protect yourself. I found it interesting that at the beginning of the conversation, you were already familiar with, basically what you were describing was light blasting and bubbling yourself and having a protective spiritual armor, if you will. But it's good to know that you have decided to reach out and get help with fortifying that. In the event you do go back, I hope you don't, because not that I have a bad feeling that anything would happen. I just hope you don't. I don't know what good could come of it. Because I wonder, and we're at 1 hour and 36 minutes already here. And I don't know, some of the other things that you indicated that you've experienced throughout your life. I wonder if there is some relation that has been fostered either through yourself or through family members. Maybe it's part of your family lineage. I'm hoping that there isn't something that is incredibly patient and following you.
I mean, I feel like you would know better than me with how many conversations you have and all the people that you know, your network.
Well, I mean, frankly, if I can bring it up, you in one of your messages to me, you spoke about an instance that happened in West Virginia. And I find the dichotomy of that is something that you experienced while in Texas that was 180 degrees from what you experienced in West Virginia. And
good old Appalachian area. It's like super high activity.
Well,
like
yeah, I
whole,
mean, you're talking, Hellier, Kentucky, not far away. The documentary by one of the Confessionals film crew,
the Dogman thing.
Dark Holler.
Yeah.
That all takes place right there throughout the swath of coal country in West Virginia. I mean, is that something you wanted to delve into, or did you want to touch on it lightly, or would you prefer not to?
I would love to do that. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, so my experience, I'll just, in a nutshell, my experience with my first overnight paranormal investigation was not my first exposure to this whole realm. I grew up in a family of 5 children. My dad was a pastor. So,
I'm going to stop you right there, because that is the first time I did not know your father was a pastor.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to say that some of your experiences are resonating with me with other people that I've talked to. And it seems to be, I'm not going to use the word common, but for lack
just like a thread, for common thread.
Yeah,
that's what came to mind.
For a lack of a better term, common with people who have grown up with and I use the term overbearing loosely, but an overbearing religious foundation in their family. It's almost like they're being tested, like they're being tempted to be called away from it. I don't know what it is. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
that's interesting.
That hit me hard. That is something, finally, with your experience, that is something that I have heard a number of times.
We come with a really bad stigma label. It's like, oh yeah, you're a, pastor's child, you're a pastor's daughter. But I don't know. We come from the same cloth, but we're not all cut the same. So yeah, I don't doubt that my upbringing had to do with so much like a rich soil to aggregate every other encounter spiritually that I had growing up. I do think there's a commonality with that. I agree. Yeah. But we're not all, crazy.
And please, I hope you didn't misinterpret what I was saying. I wasn't indicating that at all. It was just that I've known families whose dads were pastors. I've known families whose fathers were very, very, very involved in their churches. Mm-hmm. And there tends to be an overbearance of those religious beliefs. I've known, I knew a girl my age in high school who lived under those circumstances, and she was a wonderful kid, and we got along great and everything, and she had been going to parochial school, and when for whatever reason her parents decided to let her go to public school, where I got to become friends with her, it was like Katie bar the door. Holy crap, man, the kid just went nuts, and ended up getting herself in some trouble. So, and that's not what I was getting at with you. It was just a matter of, I've known people who have had parental figures that were very strong within the church or pastors, and they have experienced some of the same type of, and nothing comes to mind quite as serious as your health problem, but it does seem like they're tested, or they're trying to be lured away from it, or possibly let's just see how strong your faith is. How much do you believe, Daddy? How much strength is there in your belief? That's all I was getting at. I certainly meant no offense or was trying to indicate that you guys, because that you were crazy or anything like that.
No, I didn't feel that at all. I was just, I am very much aware growing up in that of the stigma and the blanketed, ideal of like what everyone tries to pocket us into. So yeah, I just had to say that out there, but,
I do have to jump in again in, having grown up in that environment, and with your dad being a pastor. And you two pretty much start off this interview tonight with stating that you were not religious.
Yes.
And there shouldn't,
I hate and I love that you remember that. Oh, thanks.
Sorry. But, I was born and raised Catholic, and everything that I knew, as a young child into my early teens was the Catholic Church. And I am not Catholic. I am not a practicing Catholic. I believe in a creator. I believe that there is something more. That creator could be an alien. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have too many questions. And it's been my experience that those questions that I want to ask, I get shut down more times than not by saying, well, you just have to have blind faith. And that doesn't work for me. Blind faith is not something, so, it was just interesting that you started off the interview by saying you were not religious and your dad's a pastor.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's old habits really don't die because I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to having to start out conversation with that because everyone else is still religious. All my siblings, everyone but me, very much instilled and ingrained that aspect with them. I was the black sheep. And I don't know if it's a middle child thing that kind of comes into play. I very much challenged, questioned my parents from the get-go. And bless their hearts. Now being a parent, I don't know how they put up with me. Oh my goodness, bless them. But I never, just out of the whim, never accepted that, this whole biblical organized religion thing and didn't make sense to me. Why am I praying over my dinner, thanking someone that I've never met that I have food at my table? No, my dad got up and went to work today and he has a job and he, et cetera, got a paycheck. And that's why I have food. Yeah. So I would say, and two, it's been interesting growing older is trying to strategically pick my siblings' brain if they did have shared experiences growing up. Because I've only shared one, the West Virginia one, right? I only shared that one with them. And so it's still kind of a known area, maybe they have had same experiences and don't want to talk about it. Hopefully if they did, maybe one day. But
what happened in West Virginia?
Good old West Virginia, coal mining state. So my dad being a pastor, we moved around so much. Every 2 years, it was 3 years max. Then we leave, go somewhere else. So I was born in Boston. Always a Northeasterner by heart, die hard, love Michigan. So many connections there. Miss my winters. So went from Boston to Louisiana to West Virginia to Texas.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Everywhere. So I don't know if it's relevant. Maybe it is. But my first known experience, and it might not be paranormal, but in Louisiana, I was 18 months old and woke up in the middle of the night for whatever reason. Didn't feel comfortable. I remember that. Needed my parents. And so I crawled out of my crib, landed on something, broke my arm. I feel like, to me, that's the beginning of my recollection, because it was that point in which I never had restful sleep. Still don't. I have insomnia, struggle with it. We moved to
18 months old. You have memories of being 18 months old.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that's why I mention it, is because, anyone I've shared that with, they go, "That what? You're weird." Like, my first memories when I'm 4, when I'm 5, right? No, I like so vividly remember the onesie I was wearing, what the room looked like everything, play by play. So the next event was West Virginia. My dad got a new pastoring job at a church. We go to West Virginia, Beckley specifically, and the lovely northern homes have first, second basement. Love those basements and the attic. So at this time I was 4 years old. My dad always stayed up working during summer because he was in charge of the youth camps, summer camps for kids, and organizing that, etc. So I was always used to him being downstairs working, lights on, working. My younger sister below me and I shared a bedroom at that point, a queen bed, shared a bed in a room. And we had a dog, a golden retriever at the time. And I woke up out of nowhere sometime in 3 a.m. I know it was 3 a.m, 3:08, 3:10, whatever. I don't know. It was 3. I woke up, looked at my clock on the left side table, saw it was 3 a.m, leaned over, looked at our dog, and then back over my left shoulder and saw a demon. I don't know how else to say it. A demon. Dark, greasy looking, black, heavy, standing at my door, the bedroom door, and yellow eyes, horny, thorned, shark teeth. I mean, I'm sure I'm describing every typical demon encounter. And I just immediately put, "Oh, hi, dog." I know that sound.
I think that's actually the first time he's ever interrupted a recording.
What kind of dog is he? Can I ask?
Golden Doodle.
Oh. Oh, sweet boy.
He's a good boy.
So I saw that, immediately put my head back straight to the headboard, closed my eyes, and was like, "Okay, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. This has to be a dream." I then heard whatever apparition approaching across the bedroom. It hopped upon the bed on my back. And immediately, in which I heard and felt this thing jump on my back, I got so hot. Hotter than any fever I've ever known. I felt so hot and so heavy. It started digging its claws into my back, tearing into me, and saying, you're trapped. You can't escape. There's no way out of this. And I started crying. And then I'm not religious back then, but I remember my mom being like, if you ever encounter Satan, the devil, temptation, you have to say, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. I was like, oh my God, okay. I guess I got to say this. I guess I got to listen to Mom now. So I said it. I'm crying, all this. So I say it and I close my eyes, and like, I literally had paralysis in that I couldn't move my body. I couldn't speak. And so in my mind, I uttered the words, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. Sorry, my dog. It was in that moment that all of a sudden the weight off my body left, the heat off my body left. And I just felt, breath of fresh air. I look over my shoulder. I'm still crying. Nothing's there. And I go, okay, where's Mom? Where's Dad? I need help. I knew, because it was summer, that my dad stayed up late preparing for church camp and needed, he was down there. So I walk to the front of my bedroom, stand at the doorway. I look down the hall and I see, oh my God, I'm so sorry. They're now yelling at each other. I'm standing there and I see down the hallway, downstairs lights are on. Awesome, Gina. Dad's downstairs. Go to Dad. I walk towards the hall, go towards the end, top of the stairs. I'm like, okay, I'm so scared. Slowly make my way. I walk through the living room. Dad's not there. Walk through the kitchen. Dad's not there. Go to the dining room, formal, lights on. Dad's not there. At that point, I started panicking. And I go, oh my God, where's my dad? I'm fucked, essentially. I, in a scurry, go back towards the stairwell to go upstairs to my room. On my way up the stairs, I hear something following me. And middle of the stairwell, I stop and turn around, and at the stairs, there's it's not just straight step. Every step is the same distance. There's a corner, if you will. It's really wide in a corner where it turns.
Kind of a landing there.
Yep. So right there was the same demon. And it looked up at me and started laughing and mocking me. And it said, you're not safe. Your dad's not here. No one's going to help you. Again, I close my eyes. I'm crying, of course. And I just remembered what my mom said. And I was like, okay, it worked the first time. Let's try this again. I said, like, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. I look up to the top of the stairwell and I see, so cliche, the most immaculate, beautiful lion, glowing, non-intimidating lion. It leaps over me, lands on the demon, and the demon disappears. It's gone. And then it just kind of like does in the dog position. It just like lays on its tummy and rests its arms out and looks at me. And it was such a moment of like unspoken communication had, to where in that moment I looked at it and knew, you're okay now. You can go lay back down. Everything's fine. I have you. And I walked back up the rest of the stairs and got in my bed and went to sleep.
How did you feel when you were walking back up the stairs? Did you feel empowered?
It was the greatest sense of peace that still, I don't know if I can compare. You know, there's a couple of other like events, of course, that have happened in which I have felt such an overwhelming peace and comfort. But yeah, that was pretty wild, you know.
It's astounding to me that you have such a vivid memory from that age, and I mean that's not to say that it's not believable. I have some very early memories as well, but probably towards the 2.5 to closer to 3-year-old range is where I really start having a number of memories that I can, you know. It's not just an image from a photograph that I can remember seeing the photograph and then apply a memory to it. They're legitimate memories. But I guess my question for you is, having grown up in the culture of the church, and I'm sure that it was probably something that was talked about pretty readily throughout your family and throughout daily life. Do you think that could have been the impetus for creating what you saw?
Mm.
You know, was it a, you know, because, you know, I don't know what your family's religious practices were or background was, but, you know, there's some religions, especially the fire and brimstone kind of religions that, you know, quite honestly, I mean, they can terrify you. You know, you know, if you stray off course, horrible things are going to happen to you. So, you know, if you were the subject of hearing some of these things on a regular basis, if those were thoughts that were in your head, I kind of wonder that, you know, at an impressionable age like that, could those have been, I don't want to say manufactured, but could they have been manufactured by your little brain and, you know, seemed very, very real to you?
I did consider that same thing. Because as a kid, after that, I definitely compartmentalized. And then I wouldn't say it was till my early 20s that I came to peace with the fact that, okay, it's you are still a good person if you're not religious.
Absolutely.
Because there's a different way of being a good person. Find your own path. And I started to dissect what had happened and ultimately realize I get what you're saying, but to me, it's like, okay, if it was such a constructed dream, if it was such all these factors that constructed and formed this experience, it should have been reoccurring, right? To me. And it wasn't. And then two, the fact that it did, I don't know, it followed me, leaving West Virginia, it followed me to Texas. And
so you don't discount the possibility that what happened to you at Hill House could have been the result of something that has followed you from a very early age and might be something that is inherently attached to you through your family's involvement with the church.
Oh. You and your really good questions. You kind of, God, I don't know how to answer that, because are you saying or are you suggesting that there's something like a negative entity and a negative energy tie attachment? Is that kind of...
It does kind of sound like that to me. And here's the thing. I'm not an expert. I am not classically trained in any of these things. I talk to people and I pick out patterns. Mm-hmm. I hear things that resonate with me. I have a very strong gut instinct for things. And if I'm talking to a person who started having visions of a demon at 4 years old, and you challenged it with the word of Christ, and yet you've had additional experiences with things that you felt have been of a negative manner, and ultimately culminating with a pretty severe health crisis after being in a place that was reputedly very haunted. It makes me wonder if there's something that is following, maybe not just you, maybe not you in particular, for not you as a target, but you because you are the offspring of somebody who is very much preaching the word of and you have admitted that you're not religious, that you fell away from that portion of it. Is that, If a demon wanted to get at your dad, your father, your parents, the people who love you most in the world, what better way than to lure their child away from them to the thing that is most repugnant to them? I mean, again, I can be 100% wrong, and maybe I shouldn't even be saying this because I don't want to put, those thoughts in your head. You know better than I do.
I mean, you propose considerations I haven't thought of. And that's good. That's good. That's a positive. And I don't know how to explain the fact that I disagree with that. Like, I just, yeah, that could be the case. And some it is. I'm not going to deny that I am definitely a highlighted target, if you will, and anyone else that grows up within the church, within religion, to where that is a really dominating core energy and belief in which they raise their family and live. However, I feel like it was because of the fact that I inherently challenged that construct, and it being broader than a biblical Jesus on a cross. And it was, a broader conception of there is just a one all higher entity, divine power, and all of the religions kind of have it right. And that, yes, there is a God. And at the end of the day, if you're just a decent person and you love others, you love yourself and try and be your best self every day, when you die, it honestly doesn't matter what Bible you read, what God you pray to. Like, just do that. Bottom line. You can't go wrong. I kind of feel like that's why I was so targeted and challenged and experienced all that I did growing up, because I wasn't that blind sheep.
Very interesting.
Of following.
You're not blind. You're not a blind sheep at all, because I was leading you down the path to get you to just say what you said.
Yes. It was that very, like, that I am now, of course, as I mature, as I grow, is I am learning now that is my purpose. That is my calling. And everything I've experienced leading up has led me to where I am. And that's why I don't feel negatively in this huge event that happened that put me on my ass for months, that I had to relearn everything. I'm grateful for having gone through that. I'm stronger, I'm smarter, and I don't know.
I think that is a wonderful way to end this episode. So, Jay, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on tonight. I want to thank you for reaching out to me. I hope that you got to say the things that you wanted to get off your chest, and hopefully it wasn't too uncomfortable for you.
No, not at all. I enjoyed it.
All right, then. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed hearing Jay's experiences. If you did, then please don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you can. Share the show. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your co-workers. The more listeners makes for more experiencers coming forward. And if you've had an experience or have a story that you'd like to have told on Uncomfortable, please reach out to me at contact.uncomfortable@gmail.com or message me on Instagram or Facebook. Until the next time, stay uncomfortable, my friends.